When our core wounds meet the physical world, it offers us the opportunity to heal from the trauma and the emotional wear and tear we have endured in this lifetime. How many core wounds are there to heal? In this podcast series, we will talk about them all, healing the emotional core wounding, including the mother wound, the primal wound, so we can walk in our medicine to be the healers that we all are. Join podcast host, confidence coach Susan Axelrod with her very special guest, Cornelia Stephanie. This podcast is one for the ages, living beyond the core wounds. Hello, friends. I am Susan Axelrod, the confidence coach. I am absolutely delighted to be starting this new podcast series that is indeed one for the ages. I am hosting and sponsoring this discussion because of my own experience with some deeply traumatic wounds and because my very special guest host, Cornelia Stephanie, has helped me so much in this way. Years ago, I read Cornelia's book. The book is called Peace, the Flip Side to Anger. It was at a time that I was in a deeply traumatic experience, and the emotional processing which she goes through in her book supported me so deeply. I didn't really know what core wounds were. I called them sacred wounds myself, but I learned the expression core wounds and how you actually can process them emotionally through your body and really support your own life experience in this process. I invited my dear friend Cornelia to join me on a journey of sharing with you living beyond core wounds. Cornelia, Stephanie, welcome to this new podcast series. I love you, my dear friend. Thank you for joining me.
Such an honor, such a pleasure, Susan, to be here with you and to talk about this incredible work that supports all of us to heal the core wounding that we were born into, and so that we can move beyond them and live beyond them. Because, as you know, like some of the traumas or the core woundings that we've healed already, we suddenly lose memory to having had those. It's like it happened another lifetime ago, and then you don't even remember what the pain was about or what it was about, is because we went to the core. We went to the core and we healed the core wound with our beingness, with our willingness, with our presence, with our curiosity of what is this about for me? What does this bring up for me, right?
Yeah, this came along after many years that I had been working myself in my own therapy, in my own journey to self care, self love, self nurturing, indeed to my very soul, where I went from living in what might be called an unconscious way to a conscious way. And so over the years of my own work, developing tools that supported me, I created my own methodology, the first phase of which is coming to conscious awareness. So by the time I met you a few years ago and read your book, I was moved to my core by something that I read on page 91 in your book, and we'll be putting the link to the book in the notes. And that was this. It says, a few symptoms of inner peace. When you wrote about the fact that there could be symptoms for peace, symptoms for inner peace, instead of what? Symptoms of sickness, I was astounded. I was really deeply moved. And I realized that when you learn the symptoms undeniable feelings of freedom in every moment, walking the middle path, neither for nor against, et cetera, et cetera. There are almost 15 of them listed that you can really truly begin to do the work of emotional processing as you talk about it, of going in and going deep.
That's beautiful. I forget about this part, and this was such an important part in this book, but also the principles of living moment to moment. I mean, when you read the one where it says consciously allowing things to happen rather than making things happen, goes with that post that you posted on Facebook the other day, force nothing.
Exactly so, and, also, Cornelia, um, the whole idea, of the book, The Flip Side to Anger, is what's happening here. It's what you're offering. Living beyond the core wounds,
Mm.
that's what we chose to title this podcast series, is you need to be in your consciousness. You need to learn about living in the moment, to live in that neutrality of which you spoke, which is a symptom of inner peace. One of them is laughing so hard you are able to cry from laughter. And this is really, to me, the crux of the matter. The core, the core wounds are something that often stem from the early years in our lives. And if we don't address them, then, and we may not even realize that they're there, Cornelia. I guess that's one of the things I would like to ask you to speak about as we begin to lay the groundwork in this introduction to the podcast series. How did you come up with the idea of these core wounds? And I have the 8 listed. We'll talk about what they are, but generally, where do they come from? What are core wounds?
Well, you did talk about it. You did mention it, and that is, it stems back from our childhood when we didn't get our emotional needs met. And when our emotional needs, I don't know about your generation, but my generation, where I came from, I had to put my own emotional needs aside as a little girl because of what was going on in my childhood. So many of us have come in to clear those emotional core woundings of our needs not being met as children, right? Because of the generation or the family that we were born into. And so when we realize this and when we know this, that this happened for us to heal and move beyond it in this incarnation. And no matter how painful it is, no matter what was there, but we can heal these emotional core wounds. And so it happened in our childhood. That's where it's coming from. Any person that is experiencing anxiety or trauma or depression or any of these emotions and feelings in their body, it is most likely stemming from something that happened a long time ago. And so the way that I discovered this healing modality, because this is nothing new under the sun, but why is it that humanity still has a hard time in not feeling all of their feelings? And why is it that still so many people do everything that they can do to suppress and numb their emotions, their feelings, because it's just too much? So one of the things that sent me on this path of discovering emotional processing and this healing modality, which everyone has the freedom to do themselves, it took me back to 2008 when I started really uh, stepping on the path of living my passion, what I'm passionate about, and also utilizing the positive thinking, the law of attraction in my life to manifest what it is that I want to create from passion, from law of attraction, positive thinking, all the positive things. I've always been a positive person, but I may not have always felt positive.
Mm.
Here I was living passion. I became a certified passion test coach. helping others discover what their passions are. And then I started helping others utilize the law of attraction, becoming a law of attraction coach, became certified in that. And so here I felt like I had the tools. I felt like I had the passion, and I felt like I had the law of attraction. Now I've got passion and I've got positive thinking. Now I'm going to manifest what it is that I want to create in my life. It was pretty much during the same time that the movie, or yeah, the movie, The Secret came out. And so The Secret focused a lot on manifestation of, manifesting your dream house, manifesting your dream job, manifesting all the positive things that you want in your life. And so I was very much in alignment with The Secret. But the one thing that The Secret didn't touch on, and that is the emotional body. And that
Mm.
the feeling body, feeling worthy, feeling free, feeling abundant, feeling prosperous. So, because really, that is the missing piece. You called it earlier, peace, the flip side to anger. It's really, peace is an inside job, but we have to feel peaceful within. We have to feel abundant within. We have to feel secure within. We have to feel safe within. It's a feeling. It's a feeling, and that feeling is happening because of the inner work and the emotional processing that one has done. That is when you can match the feeling with the thought of the law of attraction, with the positive thinking, then you're going to be manifesting easier, because you're more in alignment with your true nature, and that
Yeah.
is right.
Yeah, I just want to say this is so important when you're feeling free, you're feeling, and I'm writing notes. That's what I'm doing when I'm looking down. You're feeling free, you're feeling abundant, you're feeling safe. This really is it in full disclosure, which is the only way that Cornelia and I work in our businesses and in our lives. I've been working with Cornelia on exactly that. It is in my work with Cornelia that I sort of was introduced to that feeling state of being. Don't get me wrong, I have been blessed to be with a very good therapist for many years, on and off, who helped me kind of get it together to create a new way of being in my life. Perhaps I might say breaking through an old way of being. But when I started speaking with you, Cornelia, you would hear me, also feel me empathically, and then you would say, you call it the feminine rise, right? The self nurturing, feel the feelings. Whereas I was in dissonance with, I might have been feeling something inside, deep inside, and, but not wanting to show it on the outside. And that creates dissonance. So, so that's all part of why I wanted us to have this conversation. The idea that that you said we didn't get our emotional needs met, then leads to this idea that they get stuck in us.
They are in us, and uh, they have not been seen or heard or felt, because there was a need. Like, the need could have been, I need to be held because I feel scared. The need could have been, I need you to listen to me. I need you to make me feel safe. I need you to make space for me. Whatever the need is, but that need has never gotten a voice. And right, because think about, 40 years ago, or even think about the time that your mother was, living, and how she was conditioned to not speak her needs or not voice her feelings and what it is that she needs. So these are emotional needs that we all had as little children, between the ages of 0 and 7, and even beyond, that we didn't get heard, because I remember the time that children should be seen, not heard, that type of thing. My mother would give us that one look, and that's all it took. It was that. So, I also grew up in a very dysfunctional childhood, but taking us back to the question you asked earlier, Susan, which was, how did the emotional core wounding, how did this reveal itself to me? And that is because I'm now, back then in 2008, working as a facilitator of the passion test and also working as a facilitator of the law of attraction. And there was still parts of me inside that felt doubt, um, that felt bad. I just had negative feelings inside that I couldn't put my finger on. Like, what is this? What is all of this feeling bad when I'm having these positive thoughts, but I don't feel the positive thought. I don't feel that thought. I feel, so there was a mismatch of what was going on, which was an opportunity, because I talked about the secret, how they were talking about the law of attraction, that if you think positive, you're going to have all these wonderful things manifest for you. But if the feeling body isn't included, which it wasn't included from the time that we were children, if the feeling body isn't included, and if you're not really feeling good about what it is that you're thinking about manifesting, then there's something missing. So this is how the emotional processing was born. This is how that work was born, because I then went into my soul and I said to my soul, I said, what am I missing here? Like, here I am doing this work, thinking positive. I got my passions. I'm doing all this. Why do I still feel like shit?
Mm.
Like, why? Like, what is this about? Like, what is this about? And why? How can I move beyond this? And so that's when I started asking those deep soul probing questions. And also my inner being said, I really want to get to the root of this. I really want to get to the core of this. I really want to know what this is. I want my own body of work. Like, I want my own body of work. I want to know what this is about. And that is when the emotional processing technique really was born, and really all began. What is this about? What is this about? Because I'm not feeling the same way that I'm thinking. This is what happened. So this is basically the core process of how it began.
Right. And so I want to say that in the book, the emotional processing technique is delineated. And it's so funny because I'm listening to you. I always learn. I'm like, I'm writing down notes, even though I just said to myself, wait a second, I can just listen to the podcast again and to take all the notes I want. And so in the book, this emotional processing journey, the deep soul searching questions and all of that are delineated. But I want to say that another reason that I've loved my work with you personally, and that I wanted to have this conversation, to create this podcast series, to get this work out, is that I have found you to be the real deal. And so, what you just shared with us about the idea that 15 years ago, and that's a long time in this type of business, right? Every moment is so full. 15 years of moments is a long time. When you just revealed and shared with us that you were doing the passion test as a coach, certified as a coach, law of attraction coach certified, you could have just kept doing that work, as we say, on the surface, but the authenticity of what you now offer is based on your willingness to go under the surface, right? To go in deep, to ask. You said, I went into my soul and said, what am I missing? You said, I can think the thoughts, but why do I still feel like shit? That's what you said. And
That is so true. I don't know how many of our listeners can relate to, they have positive thinking, but they're not feeling. The feelings don't match the positive thinking. And, not until later on, and, because you mentioned 15 years, I want to say the last 5, 7 years did I learn that once all the emotional processing has been done and the core wounding have been cleared, that we can actually choose the feelings that we want to have. The same way that we choose our clothing, what we want to wear, what color we want to wear, what are we most aligned with. And so we can, today, we can identify what feelings we want to feel, what feels best in your physical body for you to feel, not too high, not too out there, but like stable and calm and peaceful. And then creating and working from that place. That's where I like to be. I'm still going to be passionate. I'm still going to be passion, and people don't confuse my passion with, it is exciting. It is fire. It is passion. But I'm always coming from that deep inner contentment and peace that I've cultivated over the years of clearing and living beyond the emotional core wounding. I want to define for the audience today what is emotional processing, right, Susan? So,
Yep.
emotional processing is a technique that you yourself can engage in now. And basically, is that you are triggered by something. Something is triggering your emotions where you feel upset or hurt or angry. And you are willing now to sit with your emotions and process them. What is this about for me? What does this bring up for me? How is this making me feel? What is it about? That is really, it's you processing your own emotion through because of the trigger. So I think this is an important piece. And we have to remember too that we never felt ready to process all this pain before. And
Because we weren't given permission to, quite the opposite. You just set up at the top of my notes, it says, "Our conditioning, suppressing/numbing feelings."
And how many people still to this day, whether they are workaholics, whether they are in addiction or whatever it is, are still numbing their feelings and are not really processing their emotions so that they can come to a state of, transcending those wounds, the wounds of what they're triggered by. And since this is the introduction into the core wounding, one of the main, the primal core wound that I feel like all of us are here, because remember, we are here to uh, build and co create our new earth, our heaven on earth, whatever that means for each of you. But we're here to live and remember who it is that we are. For the last 46,000 years, we have lived and been everything that we're not. And now we are here to live and be and experience everything that we are. And we were born and raised into negativity. We were born and raised in pain and trauma, asking to be contained and suppressed and not acknowledged. So what is emotional processing? It is to acknowledge the emotion that's there. When I get triggered by an event, it's always, always, always something from the past. It is never, ever, ever something from the present moment. And the reason why is, if you had no trauma in your experience, in your body, no emotion around it, and for the first time ever would you get triggered, you would not be so upset, because that event is directly linked to your past. And with your own deep inner work and your conscious awareness, you can look at, when did that happen? When you were 5 years old, when you were 7 years old, or when you're 10 years old? You can actually track that back.
I know. I know you can. In my work, with you, I've done that many times, tracking it back. So you're born and raised into negativity. I wanna say clearly, in our belief system, it's not the people, especially our family members or whatever, are malicious or evil. It's not about that. It's not an intentional, I mean, okay, maybe some people are, you know, intentional, but mostly it's not even intentional. this negativity that you're born and raised into. It's more the enculturation, as you've spoken to me about, of the legacy and position, the heritage, etc. Is that right?
Well, let's just really bring it down to what do I mean by being born into the negativity? And that is our subconscious beliefs that are in our subconscious programming, all the conditioning that you and I, Susan, and many others have had to undo because it's not true. The belief that people have had about themselves that they were born into, that they're not good enough, that's negative. That's not true. The people that have been born into the belief that life is a betrayal, or that they are betrayed by people, or that they are abandoned, or that they're not good enough, or that nothing good happens for them, or that God has abandoned them, or whatever the beliefs are that people live and act on. It's the subconscious beliefs. That's what I mean. We have to, in your own work as a confidence coach, you have had to come many times to your own inner belief system to look and see what some of those unconscious beliefs are, and is that really true? And then to shift that belief into something that's more positive, because it's not true. It's not true. That's what I mean by the negativity. Not putting judgment on the family lineage, because it's all about our evolution. Like,
Right.
I feel like, our generation and our ancestors, everything that we've lived has supported us to get to where we are. That's really what I believe. I believe that. So there's no blame or judgment on my mother for being an alcoholic, or on my father for being absent my entire life. There's no blame or judgment. This was all to serve me to become, to become who I am today. In my belief system, I'll just say this, and not everyone might believe that, but in my belief system, we have free will and choice. And I believe that I chose my parents before I even came. And so my soul chose what I wanted to heal from in this lifetime, who I wanted to be in this lifetime, in becoming a being of light, an enlightened being, which we all have the choice to be. So I can either be a victim or a powerless person that doesn't know who she is, or I can rise into my highest expression of my highest self.
So this is why we have 18 episodes of this podcast series planned,
Mhm.
because we're keeping them brief. It's a lot of information. It may be new information. I want to encourage our listeners and viewers to replay this conversation as many times as you need to begin to integrate what it is that we're speaking about. I want to invite you to take a breath, to open your mind. And my tagline, imagine the possibility that you could begin to actually feel different inside, that you could actually come up into this beautiful self-loving space, not be in this difficult internal struggle all the time. So, Cornelia, um, you mentioned just before a few of the core wounds that we'll be talking about one by one, week after week: victim, savior, the betrayal, abandonment, shame, etc. In our very next episode, we're going to be talking about the I'm not worthy core wound. Before we end this conversation, can you please let our listeners and viewers know how to find you? What is the work that you do in this?
So where people can find me, they can go to our KS Media Group app, which, by the way, I want to tell everyone how much grateful I am to you for being the sponsor, the number one sponsor of the KS Media Group app, and all of the people that we support with our growth and influence. Your sponsorship has really supported us so much. And so I want to send people also to your website, What Will Your Legacy Be? And take a look there and all the wonderful services that Susan is offering there. We appreciate you so much in the KS Media Group. So if you download our app from the App Store, Google or Apple Store, create your free account so that you have access to all the content. And if you look under directories and type in Cornelia Stephanie, you'll see me right there on the top there. And there's various different ways that you can get in contact with me. But for those people that want to really live beyond the core wounds and clear these core wounds yourself, I'm going to support you in doing that, because you're going to learn over this podcast series what the core wounds are. You may not identify with every single one, because I don't believe that everyone has all of those. This was my job in this incarnation to work through those, and I've done that. And so that's the part of it. And then I can offer it to people, whoever the people feel like they want to work on the core wound of the mother wound, and they want to move into becoming the mother, right? Or the core wound of betrayal, and they want to live in trust. Or the core wound of abandonment, and they want to feel safe. They don't want to abandon themselves. They don't want to be abandoned. They want to really heal that. And in the spiral of evolution where we were in the old earth, we would walk around in that spiral and we would continue on playing out those wounds, and we would attract people to us that would trigger and activate us so that we can see it, so that we consciously can choose to heal and transcend that wound through the process of processing our emotions. So, those of you that want to work with me directly, it takes just 1 or 2 sessions, 2 sessions for $500. Give me a text, 360-941-5783. Give me a text and let me know that you want to work on this, and we'll get you booked on the calendar. In 1 or 2 sessions, I'm going to support you in clearing that out so that you can then walk in the spiral of evolution of I am worthy, I am abundant, I am safe, I trust. All of that is living beyond the core wounds. It's an entire new energy of living in triality, really, is what it is, because we have walked the feeling of feeling betrayed, abandoned, not good enough, not worthy. And that is an energy and a frequency that we've been putting out there for various people to come in and activate those parts so we can have that experience. And through the polarization of that polar opposite that it showed us, and now to live beyond it. And I could tell you, once all the wounds are cleared, that you're living in a whole new vibration, you're living in a whole new spiral, you're living in a whole new creation of your world that is deserving and knowing that you are the creator of your reality and you are empowered.
I want to say again that I hope our viewers and listeners will watch or listen to this conversation again. All of what you just said is too much. It's like, I got it. Of course, I've been doing this work, with you, and in both in experience and in observation of your authenticity. And I cannot say how much it's amazing to no longer attract that which triggers you from the deficit, the core wound, but rather that which fills you from the new way of being. So, Cornelia, this is going to be a long and ongoing conversation. Cornelia said when we were in our planning for this podcast series that we want to really tell the stories along the way. And I am the story of this. Cornelia and I both work with many, many clients, and we'll be sharing stories of the experience of transformation. But I want to say for this introductory episode, I am the story of living in a few of the core wounds, and how I decided in the end to take advantage of the opportunity to look at them, to process them emotionally, and really do what we call the inner work. And so I present myself today in a calmer, quieter, more self loving way, which emanates out as people tell me, "What happened to you?" They say. The people who used to know me, "What happened to you?" Including my own daughter. Part of my journey of transformation of all of this happened while she was away at college. And Cornelia, the nature of this type of work, she came home and said to my other daughter, her sister, "What happened to mom?" So, Cornelia, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I'm already looking forward to our next conversation, and I'll see you soon.